All right. Hey, everyone. We're going to kick off this next 2 weeks of the Thrive Lifestyle virtual group coaching. As always, we'll start a little bit about our mission, our vision, the Thrive Lifestyle program, and our coaching philosophy. Again, Thrive HQ in Lake Elmo. I'm Dr. Greg, Dr. Matt as well. Our mission and vision is really to set the standard in healthcare through an extraordinary member experience. And our passion is to change lives through movement. And again, although we are physical therapists and we deal a lot in the physical realm, we do believe that to deep health, there's more components than just the physical aspect. So that's why with this Thrive Lifestyle group coaching, we are looking at to address multiple domains of deep health. So why Thrive Lifestyle? We don't really want to be the providers that just make general recommendations like exercise more, lose weight, decrease your stress. That doesn't really help. We want to be able to provide people with an opportunity to take action and take small steps to improve their overall health. And we don't want to just address one aspect of health, but we want to help our members sustain healthy habits across a multitude of domains. And then more importantly, with this group, we want to provide a way for people to have more accountability and a little bit of group support. So if you haven't yet joined the Facebook group, I know we haven't posted a lot on there recently. We will get on that. With the coaching philosophy and style, really what we're doing is breaking down a big goal into a more specific skill and even more specific practice, and then a daily action that is something you can do every day, something small that's going to help you move the needle in the right direction that's working towards that overall goal. So, just an example, someone's goal might be to lose weight or to be able to enjoy life again, which is great. But how do we do that? We break that down into a skill. One skill might be to eat well intuitively. From there, we can break that down into a practice, such as eating to be satisfied. And from there, what do we do every day to work towards that? We can stop when we're 80% full at each meal. And that's just an example of something that we've done in the past. So really, we're making small changes, doing them consistently over time to get big results. The program is not meant to be anything drastic, extreme, all or nothing, good or bad. We're just trying to make small little changes. So just to review, what's a goal? It's something that's big. It's something that you want to do. It supports your overall why, which we're going to talk about more today specifically and how we do that. However, goals are too big and they don't really happen just by themselves or just by us wishing them to happen. An example of a goal that we got from a former client would be to I want to care again. I want to be around when my children get older. From there, breaking that down into a skill that's more of an aptitude, something a little bit more specific than your goal, but it's still not actionable. Again, the example here would be to eat well consistently. We break that down even further, goes into a practice. A practice is something simple, segmental, sequential, strategic, supported, such as recording how you're eating. And then from there, something specific we can do every day to work towards that is to journal for 2 minutes after lunch. So something small, but again, it's supporting that practice, that skill, and that overall bigger goal. So to get to the first action for these next 2 weeks, this one's a really cool one. Something that we did in the beginning of this program. So some of you have already done it, some of you may not have. The practice is going to be to really know your why and to understand your why. Um, to start to do that, we're going to go through the 5 whys exercise again, and that'll be in an email sent out to you after this recording here. And then on top of that, what we can do every day to reflect on our why is to do a daily journal. And in that journal, it's just going to be one question. So, how closely and consistently are my daily choices reflecting my deeper values? So, it's just one question, but really that means quite a bit. And there's a lot to unpack with that, which we'll go through here in the next few slides. And what this practice is really all about is spending more time focusing on your passion, your meaning, and or your purpose. And the goal with this is really, once you journal for a while, to be able to just practice this often and forever. Maybe occasionally revisiting your why and seeing revisiting your daily actions and seeing if your actions continue to align with your deeper values and your why. So we hope that you can use this as a tool to drive your decisions over time going forward. So why do we do this? So to live a long life, a healthy and productive life, we really need to find our passion, our purpose, but then more importantly, we need to set our values based on that. And even more importantly yet, align those decisions based on those values. So it's something really interesting that we found, and it comes from this TED Talk by Dan Buettner, and we also will include a link to that in the email that we sent out, or that we will send out. It's a super good TED Talk. If you've already heard it, that's awesome. If you haven't, you're really going to enjoy it. And even if you have heard it, I would listen to it again. And in there, he starts off by saying that there's been studies that have shown that longevity or lifespan is really only 10% determined by our genes and 90% determined by our overall lifestyle mindset. So that's pretty powerful. In the TED Talk, he goes through and he talks about these blue zones where people have a 5 to 10, the population has a 5 to 10 times higher rate of their population getting to 100 years or more. So he kind of breaks that down, and really it all comes down to connections and people having a bigger purpose than themselves. So again, why are we doing this? So practices. Well, one thing that we've heard, or one thing that we've got feedback on, is that people feel like sometimes with the practices, it's another thing they have to do, another thing they have to record. Their lives are very busy, and it's hard to to have just another thing to do. So we hope that with this, those other things to do, those small things, don't seem as much of like a chore when you're having a clear driving purpose behind these actions. And then finally, we want to be able to practice deep health. So make sure that we're not just focusing on one area like nutrition, but then sacrificing other areas like socialization with friends. Maybe because you're so focused on the nutrition aspect that you are afraid to put yourself in a situation where you might be exposed to some different foods that you're trying to avoid. So again, we want to strive for that balance. So how do we do this? We keep a journal. So if you have the journal from the gratitude practice, I would just put it in there, and then start by documenting your 5 whys, either in the journal or by the supplied PDF that we'll send out to you. And from there, we're just writing daily, excuse me, answering that one question. So, how closely and consistently are my daily choices reflecting my deeper values? And with that too, the choice, we're not just focusing on nutrition, we're focusing on all the different choices that we make throughout the day. So it's not just food choices, but that could be one of them. It's also social choices. So who you choose to surround yourself with, choices you make at work. How much time you're spending on work, how much energy that you're spending on different tasks that you have to do for work, how you're prioritizing some of your work, and then we have choices with the family. So how you're spending time with the family, what you're doing with your family, seeing if that aligns with your deeper values. And activity and exercise, that's a big component too. So is the current activity that you're doing, like walking, or just getting outside, or the exercise that you're doing, whether it's group fitness or something on your own, is that aligning with your deeper values? And then the list goes on and on, all the different choices that we make throughout the day. So from there, once we've established our why, we've done our 5 whys, we start doing the journaling. We really want to have you take that mindset and apply it to this next action and practice, which is going to be modifying your food environment. So really, what this comes down to is the food environment that you have, that you use most often throughout the week. Does that align with your deeper values? Does that align with your why? So what does this mean? We're focusing on one place that you eat consistently. So for a lot of you, it's going to be the kitchen or the dining room, or the family room. And then from there, we're going to set clear nutritional goals for your food environment, again, based on your why, based on your deeper values, based on your goals. And then from there, just going to make a few simple modifications. Doesn't have to be anything drastic initially. And then over time, we hope to maintain a healthy and supportive food environment. So, sounds good. What does that mean? I think the most simply you could put it is just ask yourself, how are the people, the foods, and the other surroundings in that area that you eat affecting the choices that you're making? So, an example of this on one end would be, someone that maybe has a or family that has a messy kitchen. There's no food in the fridge, and there's lots of processed snacks in the cupboard or the pantry. That may lead itself to more ordering, fast food or ordering meals out or quick meals that are less optimal, where you're just going in the fridge, seeing what's there, grabbing some of that, going into the pantry, maybe grabbing some chips or whatever, and grabbing that. And there's not necessarily much of a plan, just because you're eating what you have, and you haven't done the time ahead of time to plan to stock the fridge, stock the pantry with fresh produce, fresh proteins, and all that. And then the other end of the spectrum would be a clean kitchen, stocked with fresh produce and whole foods that will lend itself to creating a well balanced meal at home and a good environment. So, step one for this practice of choosing an area to optimize in your house would be to really look at what's going on in that area. So, there's a lot of things going on. Is there anything other than cooking? Are you doing work there? Are there distractions? Is it clean? Is it messy? Who else is often with you? So this is important too, because if we're looking to modify or optimize an area of our house where we're eating, we also need to know who else is eating there and what are their values and what are their goals. So this is really a shared decision and a shared action with you and your family or whoever you live with. So then we're also looking at what kind of foods are available. Do those foods align with your goals? What kind of food is harder to get? What kind of food is maybe a little bit easier to get? And I think thing to think about here, and this is in one of your resources in the PM coaching app, is that everything in your house, from the floors to the walls to the setup of your various rooms, to the items in those rooms and your fridge and your pantry, everywhere. So everything moves you either towards your goals and it moves you away from your goals, or it's neutral, like the wall. Like the wall doesn't really matter. It's not going to be moving you towards or away from your goals, but other things can. So just kind of think about that critically, and then really spend time and dialing in what's around you to understand how those details affect your choices. So this will really help you be more intentional about the home environment that you wish to build going forward and wish to maintain going forward. So, step two, we're setting clear nutritional goals. So, what kind of foods do you and your family, because it's a shared decision and a shared action, want to be available? So, what kind of foods align with your goals? What kind of foods do you and your family want to be more out of reach or maybe even not available? Then, how can you make those items those less desirable, less optimal items, harder to obtain? Are there certain trigger foods that are easily accessible? If so, maybe you look at moving those into a different room or just even a little bit harder to reach, so that you just take a second to pause and think and reflect. Is this the right decision for me? Does this help me move me towards my goals? And does this align with my deeper values? So, step three, we're going to be modifying your food environment. Again, your food environment should support your goals. So, ask yourself, what will you modify to improve your current food environment? And this doesn't have to be drastic. You don't have to go through the refrigerator and throw out all the processed foods or red light, yellow light foods. You could if you want to, but I would just start by making small changes, or even just thinking about the items in your fridge and in your pantry can help to set you in the right direction. So if you get to thinking that, like, hey, maybe we aren't stocking the food that aligns with our goals, then the next time you go to the grocery store, you're making a plan to think about how can we get different foods that do align with our goals. So keep in mind, since the home is a family space, this should be a shared action. So don't just go throwing out your spouse's favorite box of Cheez-Its, for example. But yeah, small changes just to get your your environment to align more with your goals. And then from here, we got some tips for modifying that food environment. So many times our decisions are influenced by our surroundings. It doesn't always come down to willpower. Some people do have more, seem to have more willpower than others, but most of the time, our food choices really come down to proximity. So, how easy and how close is that food to you? How easy is it to get? You just go in there and grab a bag of chips. Um, or is it a little bit more out of the reach, or do you not have any of that kind of stuff? So a lot of it comes down to proximity, so keep that in mind when you're doing your planning and you're doing your modifications. And then also use your surroundings to your advantage, so create an environment that aligns with your goals. um, Make it easier to get some of the healthier foods, so maybe if you're someone that struggles with the veggie part of it, so you have fruits and veggies ready to go in little Tupperware containers or Ziploc bags, so that in the morning when you're packing your lunch, or if you're working from home and you're going to go to the refrigerator and grab a snack, you have these pre-made, pre-portioned bags ready to go where you can just grab it and go. And you have all of those fresh produce items and whole foods in the front of the refrigerator, and maybe the less optimal food and drink items you put towards the back of the refrigerator. If you're trying to get in more into exercise, pack your gym clothes the night before so that you can just grab those and go. So again, it really comes down to making the things that align with your goals and your deeper values easier to obtain, easier to get, and making the things that don't align with your goals and deeper values a little bit harder to obtain. I think you might be surprised just to if you rearrange your fridge and make those less optimal foods towards the back and they're harder to get, and you might think a little bit more before you just grab it and consume. So we talked about this a little bit, but make it more difficult to get those less optimal foods. Keep foods that do not align with your goals out of the house. And if you're not ready to do that, just make them a little bit more inconvenient. And then I think this is really important too, where we really get someone else on board. So tell someone else about the healthy choices that you wish to make, and then see if they can help hold you accountable, and vice versa. You can help hold them accountable. Excuse me. So then step 4 would be to maintain your healthy and supportive environment. So after you've upgraded your food environment, after you've changed it a little bit, now how will you maintain it? Is everyone on the house on board? If not, that might just be a good discussion to have. Let your spouse or significant other or your family know that this is something that's really important to you, and you would really appreciate their help to make those changes. Um, Also, so what routines do you need to adopt to maintain the supportive environment? Are there daily things like pre-portioning your vegetables, uh, pre-portioning some of the healthier produce items? Are there weekly things? Are we going to need to go to the grocery store once a week and make sure that we plan ahead of time as to what we're going to buy so that we can stock our environment with more healthy and whole foods and green light foods? And then who do you need in your corner? So again, a lot of this comes down to discussion with those around you, to help get everyone's goals aligned and to make sure that we're all holding each other accountable. So we did send out some reflection questions, or we will, in the email from the Pro Coaching app. So start to think through some of those. So what are some potential barriers to success? Again, a lot of these daily actions that we do, or these daily practices, it just comes down to planning and prep. With these practices, I think it's really more down to execution. So we just need to start it. We just need to do it. We just need to get that journal. We need to do our 5 whys, and then just start the journaling. And then I know the task of modifying the food environment uh, seems like a tall task. There is quite a bit to do there. So I would just recommend starting with that step 1 and just observing what's in your food environment. Look around, start thinking about what is currently around you, if it is aligned with your goals, if it's not aligned with your goals, if it's supporting your deeper values, if it's not supporting your deeper values, and just start there. Have a discussion with those in your house, and then go from there into steps 2, 3, and 4. But really, I think it just comes down to execution. So I was thinking about what will help you achieve these practices. Again, I think just doing them and then talking to those around you is really going to help out with this. And then what planning and prep may you need to do to achieve these. There's not a ton of planning and prep. You need to maybe get the journal. And then as you're getting into steps 3 and 4, modifying your food environment, and you're actually starting to make changes and you're starting to plan for how to maintain it, that's where some of the planning and prep of going to the grocery store and planning ahead of time might come into play. And with that too, when you're logging your practice or modifying your food environment, I realize that you're not going to do it in one day. But if you take any steps to move towards the right direction to modifying your food environment, whether it's, I just went in my kitchen, I went in my dining room, looked around, I started to take notice as to what's in there. I mean, that's a 5. You're starting to move in the right direction. So if you do something during the day that is working towards modifying your food environment, whether it's more of like the planning phase or the actual execution, mark yourself down in there and just write a little note. Then who do you need to bring in your corner? Again, I think it's really anyone that you live with. But start thinking through some of these today, tomorrow, and then I really think we just need to start executing. So next steps. I don't think there's anyone here new. So you're all familiar with the process. You'll be getting an email. Actually, you should have already got an email from the PN Coaching app that's guiding you as to what the next practices are. Read through that summary. And then on Friday, you will be able to go to your to-dos and start logging. So there's the main screen there. You'll have the 2 to-dos there. And then below your 2 to-dos, there will be your resources. I would highly recommend reading through some of those resources, maybe just reading 1 per day. And make sure when you log, you're just hitting 1 to 5. And if you want to write down some additional notes, I would encourage that. All right. So again, I really think this is going to be a fun one. It's always fun to talk about your why. I think it gets everyone kind of jazzed up. But then the goal with these practices is really to dig a little bit deeper into your why and to start applying that to all of your daily actions throughout the different domains of all the choices that you make throughout the day. And then again, applying that to modifying your food environment. I think this will be a really fun one. Hope you all enjoy it. If you have any questions, reach out through that Pro Coaching app or reach out to Matt and I. We'd be happy to answer any questions. And again, have fun with this one. Thank you.